Oh, Jennifer, we're so excited. I understand we're going to meet some of your young friends.
These are some of my friends. So Chuck, this is Jabez,
Jabez?
and this
Hi,
is
how's it going?
Angie.
Hi.
And both of these guys are in school right now.
Okay.
And so I'm going to let them tell us a little bit about where they are and what they're doing. So Jabez.
Hi, yeah, my name is Jabez. I'm a first-year student here at Texas A&M College of Medicine. I'm here in College Station right now for my preclinical portion of medical school, but January of next year, I'll actually be back in Houston for my clerkship for the last 2.5 years of school, and I'll be rotating to the Houston Methodist Hospital and the Medical Center. So for all the Methodist doctors and other healthcare professionals out there, hello, I'm looking forward to meeting you all.
That's amazing. Angie, tell us about yourself.
Hi, my name's Angie. I'm a fourth-year medical student here at UT Houston. I'm applying for emergency medicine.
That's great. Jabez, I know you and I have talked before. I know you've talked with Paul, and you want to make missions, a part of your future. And I was thinking, you're in school now, got quite a few years left before you finish up. What do you do with the time between you feel like it's what you want to do, you want to go on the mission field, or you want to serve some way, and when you finish, how do you keep that passion for that? How do you stay inspired and just kind of like keep that goal at the end? What do you do?
Yeah, for me, I try to see God in everything. I'm really thankful for the opportunity to just be here in medical school. I think I've mentioned this story before, but I didn't get it my first time. And so I'm just really thankful, first of all, to be here. And it's been a wild ride. It's only been the first semester. I'm in my second semester right now. But I see God in everything, just in the things that I study. But, I also take a step back when I'm learning, and just to come back to that place of peace, knowing that God is guiding my steps. And, he's writing the story and he's called me to it. And like, he gives you the grace to accomplish what he's called you to. He wouldn't call you to something and not give you the ability to do it. And, I know it's hard for me. It's challenging when I'm studying every single day to, kind of remember that there's a world beyond my study room. But it just goes back to seeing that the need around you. Well, and you don't need to go far. You don't need to necessarily leave the country to see that.
Yeah.
But even just run into people like in my own daily life, like some of my friends or family members, and just be intentional about reaching out to them or volunteering and just, being there for people around me. And I think that's what keeps me centered and drives me.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, you had a dream to go to medical school. Things weren't turning out the way you thought, but I love how you persevered, and now you're on your way. I'm so proud of you. I think that's so awesome. Angie, I was thinking, you and I talked, and you have been to every single M3. Is that right?
Yeah. So I grew up, going to Lakewood since I was like 10. And I remember I was, I believe, a junior in college when the first conference happened. And at that point I was pre-med, but I knew like how hard, just to get in. I didn't even know like if I would get in. But I just remember going and being really excited just to hear about people who were in the healthcare world serving Jesus. And I remember I went and I felt so strongly like God speaking to me there, but I didn't know if I would even be able to get there. But I just remember God kind of just telling me like, get ready and like continue to trust him. And then in 2017, I got accepted in February. 2 weeks later was the M3 conference. And I just remember being there and being like, oh my, like God, like you did this, and just seeing the way he orchestrated everything. And there was this big sign that year that said, say yes, period. And I remember I took a picture of that, and I was like, I don't know where like I'll be. I don't even know what field I'll be going into. But I just wanted to say yes right then before any of it, because I knew how God had led me and just opened doors that I couldn't do myself. And I've been able to continue coming through to M3 conference and just continuing to connect to the heart of Jesus and serve, to serve hurting people.
I love that. It starts with saying yes,
Yeah.
right, Chuck?
Yeah. Well, I can imagine somebody watching us right now wanting to say yes, but dealing with that fear and afraid. What would you say to somebody who's in that situation? I have a heart for God. I have a heart for missions. I want to do this. I want to say yes, but I'm too scared. What would you say to them?
I definitely, I think that the first thing is, just trusting God and continuing to grow in that relationship with him. And knowing that, kind of like how Anne said before, like, don't worry about what you don't have in your hands right now, because God knows what you will have in your hands, in the future. And just leaning into him and continuing to trust that he's going to get you to where you need to be. And you don't have to worry about that part. Just focus on, you and God, and continuing to grow in your faith with him.
Yeah, we lost a little bit of your audio there. Jabez, I'm curious if your thoughts on the same question.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just, I love what Dr. Roberts said during the first talk, where he mentioned that, God has written this story and he's inviting us into the story that he's written for our lives. And what I could say is it's a better and more fulfilling story than we could ever write for ourselves. And so if you're feeling the call of God in your life, I would just step in. And sometimes I think, especially like me, I think a lot of maybe young people out there struggle with this too, that you try to take that next step and you're wondering whether or not it's the right step. But a lot of times I think you just take that step, and God is so good that he'll have a way to just realign it with his purpose, and he's just going to use you, and you're going to see it and you're going to be amazed by it. So that's what I would say about it.
Yeah. And you guys are amazing. I admire you both. Good luck. We're cheering you on. You got to come to M3 again next year. So I appreciate you joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
We need more young people like that, I think, in the world, and certainly in missions. It's been a couple of years for some of us since we've been in college. A lot of those watching and viewing right now have been in the missions field for a long time. In fact, we're going to hear from one of those, one of our guests, Joy Vonick. Take a listen.
Most of my life, I've admired people that moved far away to hard places to do difficult things. And while I could go places short term, I never thought I could be one of those long-term folks. And I just thought they were made of different material and stronger stuff. But the beautiful problem with my mentality was that God uses the foolish things, the powerless, the weak, the nobodies to shame the wise. And so when I could take that, I can't, and put it on God's altar, the beautiful thing is that he takes I can'ts, which are true, and he turns them into you can't, but I can. And so it was in 2019 that God used this very conference to gently lead me out of a domestic medical missions job that I loved, and took me overseas to Kenya for 3 months to volunteer at a rural medical missions hospital. And I didn't know what God would do at the end of that time. So I returned to the US in this period that was hard. It was an in-between. It was seeking the Lord, but honestly, for a while, feeling like I wasn't getting a lot of direction. Thankfully, towards the end of that season, I felt a growing sense of peace, that there was a confidence that God had over the years drawn a timeline where I could see I was being led into international service. And for me personally, while I didn't feel like he was saying that I had to go, that it was a must, it was actually in the freedom of that choice that I was able to reflect and see that the biggest difference that I could make was being back in Kenya with my team. And so 10 quick months later, after a lot of work and continued confirmation, God actually has brought me back here and to be in language school studying Swahili, which I love. And there are certainly days that are difficult. There are hard emotions and trying circumstances. And it's during those times that I reflect on God's words to Zerubbabel in Zechariah 4:6, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, says the Lord. And so when I feel discouraged or inadequate, I remember these words that God spoke, that it's by his spirit, and that this has never been my story. It's his story. I'm his child. This is his work. And so in 1 year or 5 or 10 or 20 or whatever number of years, I just pray that the words of the old hymn, Blessed Assurance, can be true of my life, that this is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. And may this life, this career, these hands, this woman, may they point to Jesus and to his praise always. And may that be our story.
Thank you, Joy. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time. And wow, it's hard to believe. I thought we just got started, but here we are already at the end of day number 1. Incredible, start to the M3 conference. But the thing is, we're just getting started. We have a lot more. Paul, Jennifer, what are you guys looking forward to tomorrow?
Chuck, 2 of my favorite people are going to be here tomorrow. One is Cindy Wu, and she is with Houston Welcomes Refugees, an organization that I love, and also Lee Kohler. And Lee is with Freedom Church Alliance, and it's a anti-human trafficking organization here in Houston. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
We're also going to have Andrew Scott. Specifically, if you're not medical, Andrew Scott would be a really good session to listen to tomorrow, because he's going to talk about how you can take your career and use that in missions, no matter what career you're in, how you can use that in missions, especially in countries where it's very difficult to get in for the gospel.
Yeah.
So Andrew Scott kind of changes your paradigm of how we've done missions in the past into what the paradigm he thinks we'll see it in the future. So it's good. That'll be a great session. John Fielder, we've heard tonight, he's going to talk to us about COVID in Africa. And then Becky Thompson, 34 years, she was a missionary nurse educator in Gabon, Africa. And she's going to share with us her insights from her career there in nursing missionary work. And then Nicholas Comenelis is going to speak to us tomorrow. One of the most practical talks that I've ever heard on, if you're really interested in missions, what are some practical things that you can do next? And he specifically talks about how to make decisions in the framework of deciding what you're going to do in mission. So I wouldn't miss Nicholas Comenelis. They're all going to be good tomorrow, but don't miss Nicholas's talk.
Well, you can find out more information on the schedule and some of the things that are coming up tomorrow at m3missions.com. While you're surfing the interwebs and get on social media, make sure that you hashtag M3 Missions as well for a chance to win some really cool prizes. In fact, we have some prizes from REI, Patagonia, some Visa gift cards, just kind of a way to have fun and share the conference with others who may not even be aware that it's going on. Open their Instagram, it's like, what is this? And who knows, that may be the next person who enters the mission field and changes the world. We've also talked a little bit about what's your story. That's our theme. And we want to hear your story. In fact, there's a place on the website for you to do that. So go to the Share Your Story link on the conference dashboard. Tell us what God's doing in your life, where you've been, and where your story is headed. So that is it for day number 1 of the M3 conference. Be sure to visit our virtual prayer room as well as the virtual exhibit hall on this virtual M3 conference. We have a lot of information there. And don't forget, tomorrow morning, please make sure and join us. We look forward to seeing you 8 a.m. Central Time. Until then, have a good night. Thanks for joining us.